Hello, and welcome to Really Big Hat. My name is Jared, and this is D&D Builds, the show where we build D&D characters. Today's character is one that's a little tricky to pull off, but I think I've found a way that makes it an interesting option at least. We are going over the Monk Barbarian. As I said before, this one is quite tricky to build. It's a mad character that is multi-ability score dependent, so you need to have a lot of ability scores very high for it to function at peak efficiency. So that means you're going to be spending most of your ability score improvements on bumping your stats instead of taking like interesting feats that might help. And it also takes a while for all of the features to come online and anything to feel like it's really meshing. For a lot of this character, spoiler alert, we're going to start with Barbarian, and we're going to stick there for 5 levels before we start taking Monk levels, and we're just going to feel like a Barbarian with some really interesting, unique abilities, rather than a Barbarian/Monk for most of this character's career. So I just wanted to cover that before we really get into it, so that you guys know up front what kind of character you're getting into with this build. So if that doesn't speak to you, feel free to watch one of my other videos and build a different kind of character. But if it sounds interesting to you, and it sounded interesting to me, so I built it, let's go ahead and get started. First off, for our race, there are several options here, and it's really going to depend on how you're feeling you want to build this character. First and foremost, I want to mention Mountain Dwarves and Half-Elves, because they get an extra ability score increase compared to other races. They start with a grand total of 4 points to spend. With the Mountain Dwarf, it's 2 and 2 in 2 different abilities, and with the Half-Elf, it's 2, 1, and 1 in 3 different abilities. So it's really up to you how to spread that out. But another pair of races that I wanted to mention, because they're also very similar, is the Custom Lineage and the Variant Human, which allows you to start with a feat. This is almost always an option for pretty much any character you're building, because feats are great. With this character, I would recommend starting with Great Weapon Master. That would get us a little bit ahead of the curve early on, so, that is an option as well. But one more race that I wanted to mention, and the one that I'm going to use to build the character to present to you, is actually the Wood Half-Elf. With this, you still get the Half-Elf ability score improvements, so you're getting +2 to 1 stat and +1 to 2 others. So you're still getting that total of 4 ability scores, so that's ahead of the curve on other races. And we are multi-ability score dependent, so we like that for this character. But we also get to pick a trait from Wood Elves, and I'm going to pick up Fleet of Foot to increase our base walking speed to 35 feet. The main reason for this is that even though we're going to be a monk for a large portion of our career and pick up a lot of their unarmored movement increases, we're not actually going to be able to use any of those because, again, spoiler alert for how I'm going to build this character, we're going to be wearing armor and we're going to be using a heavy weapon. That means we're not going to be using the martial arts feature or any of the unarmored movement increases that we get. So I actually want to increase our base walking speed this way, so that with the Barbarian increase that we will be getting, we'll be getting up to a grand total of a 45 feet movement speed, which still isn't bad, even when we're going to be a little bit slower than like a pure monk. Moving on to our ability scores, you could get something like this with a point buy, bringing strength up to a total of 16, Dexterity, Constitution, and Wisdom all up to 14, and then dumping Intelligence and Charisma, basically. Basically, what's important here is getting your Strength and Constitution as high as you can get them, while maintaining at least a 13 in Dexterity and Wisdom so that you can multiclass. I figured why not go for that extra point and get them both to 14 so that we can get to a +2 and keep as many even numbers as possible. But if you wanted to take that extra point from Dex and Wisdom and pump it into, say, Constitution or something like that, or to balance out your soft stats, that is entirely up to you. But if you wanted to roll for stats, you might wind up with something like this. Rolling for stats, on average, does yield better results than a point buy, so it's always an option for characters where you want a little bit better ability scores. Assuming your DM allows it, of course. Oh, and I realized that I did roll my strength ridiculously high, so I wanted to show you the raw rolls I got. That's right. 4 6s. I don't know exactly off the top of my head what the odds of that are, but I'm going to say low. And this is first time rolling on D&D Beyond just for demonstration purposes more than anything. So, yeah, take that as you will. So, moving into our class, we are, as I stated earlier, going to start our career as a Barbarian. Specifically, we're going to take 5 levels of Barbarian, and we're going to take the Path of the Berserker subclass. First of all, on the way to level 3 in our subclass features, we are going to get some Barbarian staples that are going to be useful throughout our entire career in Rage and Reckless Attack. Rage gives you advantage on strength checks and strength saves. If we make a melee weapon attack using strength, we gain a bonus to damage. We get resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. That lasts for a minute, and it's activated as a bonus action. And then Reckless Attack allows us to, when we start our attacks for a turn, decide to attack recklessly and gain advantage on all of our attacks, with the caveat being that everyone else gains advantage on attacks against you. And this is where I first want to touch on our equipment for this character. We are going to be wanting to wear medium armor if we can, half plate if we can get it, and we're going to be wanting to use a large, heavy weapon like a great axe, a great sword, or a maul, so that we can take advantage of the Reckless Attack / Great Weapon Master combo. If we got Great Weapon Master with our race, you can already do it now. If you did not get Great Weapon Master with your race, like I didn't, we're going to be taking that at level 4. Spoiler alert again. The reason I want to go over this now is because these choices do technically conflict with some monk features. And the thing is, we're just going to ignore those features that these choices conflict with. I will go over that in more detail once we get to our monk levels and explain exactly what features we're not getting and why I feel that's okay. But for now, medium armor, heavy weapon, great weapon master, reckless attack, you're a barbarian, go do barbarian things. At 3rd level, we do get our subclass feature from our Path of the Berserker, which is Frenzy. When we go into a rage, we can choose to Frenzy. If we do, for the duration of our rage, we can make a single melee weapon attack as a bonus action on each of our turns. And the caveat is, when our rage ends, we suffer 1 level of exhaustion. So that is something to consider when you decide to go into a frenzy. That's something you want to keep track of. Next up, level 4, we are taking Great Weapon Master. I've mentioned this a couple of times already, but here we are. It gets a couple of features. Before we make a melee attack with a heavy weapon we're proficient with, we can choose to take a -5 penalty to the attack roll, and if the attack hits, we add +10 to damage. That's a lot of damage. Furthermore, when we score a critical hit with a melee weapon, or reduce a creature to 0 hit points with one, we can make a weapon attack as a bonus action. This does not stack with our Frenzy bonus action attack, or any bonus action attacks we're going to be getting as a monk. It's a pick and choose which one you want to use. But having multiple options for how you're going to be able to weaponize your bonus action, very good. That adds a lot to your character's damage output. Then at level 5, and finishing off our Barbarian levels, we are going to get extra attack and fast movement. We can now attack twice instead of once with the attack action, and our movement speed increases by 10 feet. Next up, we are going to multi-class into Monk, as promised, as prophesied, as foretold, as foreshadowed. Monk levels. And at level 1 of Monk, we get nothing! That's right, absolutely nothing. We already have proficiencies in simple weapons and short swords, so we don't gain that. We already have an unarmored defense calculation. This does give us a new one, but since we're not using either of them, because we are wearing armor, we can't use that. And we also can't use martial arts because we're wearing armor and wielding a heavy two-handed weapon. So level 1 of Monk for us is basically a dead level. It sucks, but we are going to be getting things out of these Monk levels later, I promise. Then here at level 2, we get a feature we actually can use, Key. There is no stipulation in the wording of Key that says that we can't be wielding a heavy or two-handed weapon, or that we can't be wearing armor or wielding a shield. So we're able to use all of these features as long as we have the key points to fuel them. Starting us off is Flurry of Blows. Immediately after we take the attack action on our turn, we can spend a key point to make 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action. The caveat here, at this point of the build, is that our unarmed strikes have no particular bonus. We can't use the martial arts feature, so we are not getting that D4 damage die on our punches and kicks. So it's just our strength bonus plus 1, and that's what we're doing. For now. Then we have Patient Defense, where we can spend 1 key point to take the dodge action as a bonus action. That's actually pretty interesting, because if we wanted to, we could attack recklessly with our action, make 2 attacks with advantage, and then Patient Defense with our bonus action to cancel out the advantage that everybody would be getting on us by taking the dodge action. It's kind of a weird strategy, but it's technically something you could do. And finally, there is Step of the Wind, where we can spend a key point to take the disengage or dash action as a bonus action, and our jump distance is doubled for the turn. Of these options at this level, the only good option is Flurry of Blows. Even though we're not getting that D4, we still have a good strength score, so we're going to be doing at least 4 damage here with our punches. If you rolled like crazy like I did, we're going to be doing 6 damage. And if we're raging, that increases to 8 damage. So that's pretty cool. So, does this technically clash with Frenzy, though? Technically, yes and no. I'm going to say I prefer to think of it as supplementing both Frenzy and Great Weapon Master. We now have 3 different ways to activate bonus action attacks. We can either go into a Frenzy when we rage, and then on subsequent turns we can use our bonus action to attack that way. We can, if we get a critical hit or reduce a creature to 0 with Great Weapon Master, make an additional attack with our weapon as a bonus action. Or, if neither of those apply, we can use our bonus action and spend a key point to Flurry of Blows and make 2 unarmed strikes. So there's a lot of different options for us to use our bonus action to attack now, and we're usually going to be able to do at least 1. And all of this that we are able to do with Ki is pretty much the reason that I was okay with not being able to use martial arts. With martial arts, we would have been using a D4 for our unarmed attacks, which would be a damage increase, but we're going to address that in a little bit. And as for making a bonus action unarmed strike, now we can do that, and we can make 2. We just have to spend a key point. And that is basically going to be our playstyle from now until the end of the game. We are going to be wearing armor, using a heavy two-handed weapon, but using our Ki to circumvent the need for martial arts and still be able to use a lot of monk features. So now that brings us to level 3 of Monk, where we can pick our subclass, and I'm going to go with the Way of the Long Death Monk. This gets us the Touch of Death feature, where when we reduce a creature within 5 feet of us to 0 hit points, we gain temporary hit points equal to our Wisdom modifier plus our Monk level. I mean, our Wisdom isn't going to be great, but we are going to be pouring on Monk levels from now on, so hey, temp HP is temp HP. It's not bad. At level 4 of Monk, we get an ability score improvement, but I'm going to recommend that instead of bumping your strength, which is the ability you will want to be improving if you're not going to take this option, I'm going to say I want to take the Fighting Initiate feat and get Unarmed Fighting. This is a cheeky little way to get our Monk damage die without martial arts. As of now, our unarmed strikes can deal bludgeoning damage equal to 1d6 plus our strength mod on a hit. And if we aren't wielding weapons or a shield when we make the attack roll, that instead becomes a d8. Additionally, we get an extra feature where at the start of each of our turns, we can deal 1d4 bludgeoning damage to one creature that we have grappled. So that's neat. Oh, and we also get slow fall at this level, so start jumping off of stuff. You know, could be fun. At level 5 of Monk, we get Stunning Strike. Now, this is another feature that doesn't say anything about using a monk weapon or being unarmored. It simply says that when we hit another creature with a melee weapon attack, and our Great Axe should count for that, We can spend 1 key point to attempt a stunning strike. The target must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or be stunned until the end of your next turn. This is a controversial feature in Dungeons & Dragons in general, because being stunned until the end of our next turn is just so debilitating. You are just skip-a-turning somebody, and in the meantime, they're getting attacked with advantage and automatically failing strength and dexterity saving throws. It's pretty brutal. Now, we are not going to be the best user of this because our wisdom score is not very high, and our monk saving throws are based on wisdom. But, I mean, if you wanted to try and invest in your wisdom and go more for a lot of stunning strikes, more power to you. Have fun, stunning the crap out of people. But for our build, our wisdom is kind of low, so I would use this somewhat sparingly. Just, be tactical about it. Think about, okay, this guy really needs to be stunned right now, so let's make 2 attacks with our Great Axe, and then let's flurry of blows and make all 4 of those into stunning strikes. Just blow all of our key points on one thing and just be like, no, you are getting stunned before the end of this turn. You shall not pass. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Be stunned. Or, just throw one out every now and then willy-nilly when you feel like your opponent might just fail a saving throw for whatever reason. Either way. At level 6 of Long Death Monk, we get Hour of Reaping. This allows us to make an action and try and frighten any creature within 30 feet of us that can see us. They need to make a wisdom save, or they will be frightened of us until the end of our next turn. This is situationally kind of interesting, but really this is kind of a ribbon fluff feature for us more than anything, because it doesn't say any creature we choose within 30 feet of us. It's any creature within 30 feet of us that can see us is making that wisdom save, so that includes our allies, so spacing is an issue for this. Plus, our monk saves are not that great, as I said, so it's very likely that creatures are going to succeed on this check because our wisdom isn't very high. But in the event that we're only targeting enemies and they're failing their saves, this is actually pretty good because frightened is a pretty debilitating condition. They won't be able to approach us, and anything they try to attack while they can see us, that's going to be at disadvantage. So I would say use it sparingly, but if you have this situation where you think it calls for it, go nuts. Then at level 7, we get Evasion. So, whenever we're subjected to an effect that makes us make a dexterity saving throw, if we fail, we're taking half damage, and if we succeed, we're taking no damage. Pretty cool feature. Always fun to just dodge a fireball and take no damage. Moving on to level 11. It's the next interesting feature we get. First, we are going to get an ability score improvement at level 8. I would say improve your strength score if you haven't already capped it. If you want to, you can bump your con here or your wisdom to get better stunning strikes. Really up to you. But at level 11, we get Mastery of Death, which is actually a really cool feature. We can use our familiarity with death to escape its grasp. When we are reduced to 0 hit points, we can expend 1 key point, requiring no action, to have 1 hit point instead. That means that as long as we have key points, we just will not die. You would have to be using something like Power Word Kill or some other effect that instantly drops us to dead to actually kill us. Anything else, we're going to be able to spend a key point and be like, I can do this all day. So it's a lot of fun. This is a cool feature. I like it. Then at 14th level of Monk, which is only 1 away from our last level, so this might as well be our capstone, and it's a good one, we get Diamond Soul, giving us proficiency in all saving throws, and whenever we make a saving throw and fail, we can spend a key point to re-roll it and take the second result. So now we can not only say, no, I don't drop to 0 HP, I spend a key point. We can say, no, I don't fail that saving throw, I can spend a key point. This one we do have to roll again and actually succeed on the second roll, but still, we get to say no to a lot of stuff now. So, a lot of fun. So that'll about do it for the build. So here's what your character sheet might look like at level 20. We have over 200 hit points, which is pretty good. I mean, that's a benchmark for a frontline melee combatant, which we are. We have 17 armor class if we have just half plate and no other bonuses from, magical armor or a ring of protection or anything else that you might have discovered on your 20 levels of adventuring. So I'm assuming that'll probably be at least a little higher. We have proficiency in every saving throw from our Diamond Soul feature as a monk, which is just amazing. Mind you, that doesn't come online until level 19 for us, so that is really only going to be useful in a long-term campaign, or if you're running something crazy where you're starting at level 20. But yeah, we have proficiency in 5 skills, I think it is. Yeah, 5 skills. So that's a little bit on the lower end, but still, as long as you can put them where it counts, it's up to you to get into good situations to use whatever skills you picked. And yeah, anyway, our playstyle is going to be Barbarian first, Monk second, turn after turn. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going into a rage, reckless attacking with our Great Axe and Great Weapon Master. And then on subsequent turns, we're going to be doing that same thing, but now our bonus action is going to be free to either, if we frenzied, we can make a bonus weapon attack with that. If we're Great Weapon Master attacking and we crit or kill something, we can make a bonus melee weapon attack from that. And if both of those fail, or if you just feel like doing it this way, you can Flurry of Blows by spending a key point and make 2 unarmed strikes. These are D6s for us because we took that fighting style. They count as magical because monks get that feature to their unarmed strikes, not their martial arts attacks. So, we are going to be attacking with magical fists at this point. That started at level 6. And yeah, we can throw in a stunning strike here and there to try and stun somebody. Or we could go super defensive and after we make our attacks, we could not go reckless and then instead take the dodge action as a bonus action with patient defense and just stand there, especially if we're in our barbarian rage. Before we do that, then we resist bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing, and everything has disadvantage to hit us. So you can actually be a pretty interesting defensive wall that way if you want to go that route as well. But we also have our Way of the Long Death features, where we can get temporary HP when we kill things, and we can just say no to dropping to 0 HP. As long as we have key points, we can just spend 1 and stay at 1 HP, and that lasts as long as we have the key points to spend on it. So that's very cool. And yeah, that's the character. We've got a lot of neat little features. A lot of things don't mix together from Barbarian and Monk, but we get enough that we get a heavy helping of both classes and a lot of what makes them unique. So we're able to just kind of live not the best of both worlds, but live in both worlds at least. So yeah, that's the build. I hope you enjoy it. It was complicated to make, so I hope I haven't made any horrible, egregious mistakes that I haven't caught. But other than that, I will just say we'll see you guys next time. Later.